Hi,
How's it going?
good and you?
Great.
Hi,
I'm
Alia.
liking this vibe.
Oh, thank you.
How are you, Anna?
Hi.
I'm being a little bit quiet for the next 15 minutes because Jay is not an important call, so I'm trying to keep my voice low.
Okay,
Got it.
got it. How are you doing, Andriana? You ready?
Yeah, I am. How are you doing?
Great.
Cool.
I'm glad we.
Question.
Yes, go for it.
One, can you hear me okay? Is there any time delays or
I hear you great.
perfect? Secondly, do I have access to share my screen?
Yes. I am gonna make you the host. Yeah, so I have a waiting room enabled, so I can make you the host so that you can share your screen. I don't want you to be distracted if people are like in the waiting room and stuff. So I'm wondering how we can manage that.
I wonder
Do you
if
want
I'm also signed in as RP. Do you think I'll be able to do that too? If you change it to Adriana?
so can you have two
We have the one
hosts?
host. So I'll make you host, Adriana, so that you can share your screen. Or here, how's this? So like, I'm sorry. I can do like an introduction and like allow everybody in, and then I can send the host over to you so that you can start sharing your screen from there.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, cool.
I was also going to say I could try signing out and signing back in not as RP. I don't know if that helps anything.
So one of us have to be signed in as RP to like host the meeting, but because we only have one host, I don't think it would matter.
Okay, then I like your plan. Move ahead with your plan. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. So the idea is, I imagine one of you ladies, I guess Andriana, you would do some sort of welcome introduction. And then from there, I would introduce myself too. And I have two things that I want to do. One is they didn't tell us like what they wanted to get out of this class, right? Like when they signed up necessarily.
So a lot of them have expressed to Ali and I their need to have a little bit more visibility towards their funders and to kind of like rethink the way that they're using social media. So like maybe they hadn't been relying on it as much and need to pivot because of the situation. But a lot of them expressed like wanting to be more visible in general.
Okay, cool. So I was thinking of going around I have two things that I would like them to do. One is I have a slide that has everyone's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter handle, and I would love to take 5 minutes to just have them build community and follow each other. Yeah, that works really well. And at the latest list that I went by was the one that you sent me late last night, Andreina. So if anyone jumped in, if anyone jumped in after I didn't grab them, but I'll ask whoever's not on the list to just drop it into the chat that
Great.
they can be followed.
Yeah, since then, one person has signed up. Her name is Thais. She was in our boot camp, and she actually is trying to start a new company or has started a new company, and she's just trying to like gain traction on it. So she's offering different services than she normally did. And so, yeah, I think if she has it up and running, she can definitely share it. But actually, she's one of the people that I think would be benefiting most from the session. Let's see if she has it up and running already.
So, and like Malika, is it Malika or Malika? Malika. Malika, yeah, she didn't have, I don't think she has an organization, right? Like it's just Alipata. So I didn't find anything on her. I know who she is, that she does for sure. And then who else?
She has the it's called the Alipata Collaborative.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Alipata Collective is the name of her organization. It is a registered 501c3. I've seen a website of hers, but I've also Googled her before and not seen it online. So it might be one of those things she's working on, but I know she has a registered, the Alipata Collective.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I no doubt that she isn't. So her, and then there was an attorney, an immigrant attorney, I think. So there's a few people that don't have their handles on there, so they can just drop it in, but all the organizations are on there. And then I went through all of their pages too, and well, do you want me to, we have a few minutes. Do you guys want to see the presentation real quick?
Sure, if you'd like. I have a question around the breakout rooms process, like when we do brainstorming. So up to
I'm gonna,
you'll skip it?
yeah, I think we'll skip it because we were gonna touch base about it beforehand and we didn't, I realized. But there's a lot, there's a bit to work with.
Okay. Yeah, so do you think people will still have a chance to like kind of bring up like any questions or to do brainstorming?
Oh,
Maybe
100%.
like without the break. Okay, cool.
100%. Let me open the presentation. Hold on. Is this it? Okay. Did I share my screen with you guys? No,
I don't see it yet.
Okay, so we have this where everyone will get to follow each other. We'll talk through the audience, where do they live, the tone, the frequency, the things that you highlighted, Dre, the delivering content, leveraging your organization's network, which will be around using your board, your staff members, your volunteers. And what I noticed is like even Venture Cafe has very little engagement. And they have quite a few people that like could be engaging with them. That helps. Return on investment, so metrics and donors. This is Polly. I'll get Holly to say a few words.
Yeah, Holly is going to be joining over the phone.
Okay.
So maybe you can just share that Holly is on in case anybody has any questions related to engaging funders. Yeah.
Perfect. So
yeah, and then I would say the only other thing for Holly is if you have a question specific to her, since she can't see your slides, just make sure you're being really explicit about what you want her to answer or say, since she's doesn't have the visual reference with us.
Yeah, I think it'd be great for her to give some insight on how potentially donors are looking at like digital reach during these times.
Mm-hmm.
And if she has any insight on like what's happening future-wise, like trend-wise and things of that nature is what I'd like to ping her on. And then collectively we'll develop goals. I'll have them each write down some goals. And then I went through all of their pages and I pulled an example for each one of them. So I want to review that with everyone because I think that there's a lot to learn for everyone across the board. Even things like here on yeah, like, you know, Office of the New Americans, you can't really read it. You know, that starts to blur the lines for ADA compliance and things of that nature. So it's really not that much. It's only 19 slides deep. So I figured it'll probably run us through about 20 minutes or so. And then Q&A and then like the activity at the beginning. So we'll be able to get everyone to brainstorm and ask questions. And Dre, you know, I'm very informal, so I want to keep it to that informal process. So if they have any questions along the way, we definitely want them to ask that, and I'll set that tone at the beginning when we go through it.
Great. Super helpful.
Cool.
Thank you, Adriana. This looks great. You mentioned Venture Cafe and their engagement. So Leanne may be on the call, but I know that one of her colleagues are definitely going to be on. So just want to make sure that you're aware that you'll be speaking to their stuff, or if you want to prompt them to share like how they feel about their engagement.
Cool. Well, they're just one of the samples. I use them as a sample on a couple of things. Mm-hmm. That's like generic across the board.
Sweet. I think they're all very excited to see their stuff in here.
Awesome.
Also, this probably goes without saying. I love the way that you pulled specific examples from the orgs. It's definitely something that I think really distinguishes one workshop from the other when it goes from generic to like I'm talking to you. but they're not just like negatives about them, right? It's like, you did great on this, but this you could improve, right? It's not just like, you shouldn't have done that. Okay.
These are all very much like room for improvement opportunities.
Great. Awesome.
That's how we'll feature it.
Okay,
And
cool.
it's pretty standard across the board, like the lack of using hashtags, the lack of using locations, just like a pinned tweet from 2019 summer that could be, you know,
Right.
things like that. There are room for improvements. They're not, you shouldn't have done
Okay,
this.
cool. I figured. I just wanted to ask, but I was sure that that wasn't the case. I'm really excited about this, Andriana. It looks great. I'm excited to learn.
Awesome. So I'm going to stop sharing and I give you controls back, Dre.
Cool, thank you.
Right? Is that, how do I go back to making you a host now?
Oh, I have a button, reclaim host.
Okay.
Holly is joining. Hi, Holly. Oh, she's not connected all the way yet.
Hi, Holly. Francesca from my team is going to join us as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Hey, Holly, can we hear you? You're muted. Testing.
I see that she's off mute.
Yeah.
But we can't hear her yet.
Holly, let's see if we can get to hear you. I'm gonna send you a message in Slack also. Holly? Oh, I see we're connecting to audio, so maybe something will come up. Got it. Trying to figure it out via Bluetooth. We have a couple of people in the waiting room, but I'll wait till 3.
You're on the dot to let them in. So exciting. So I am going to have them go around and briefly introduce themselves and give me a like what they expect to get out of this. Like a really quick, I'm Andriana, I'm with theAOinsight group and I want to learn how to increase followers.
Sounds perfect.
Perfect.
All right. I think I will start letting folks in. Holly, I know
Holly,
you're
it might be easier if you just, did you just dial in by phone, Holly? That's probably, yeah, let's let her. You can let people in. I think,
okay.
I wonder if she's trying to join by her Zoom app or whether she should just use her telephone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She might be easier just dialing in with her phone and not trying to be on the app.
I think she's just figuring out the Bluetooth. So just maybe she hears it on her phone, but she wants to hear it on the car. All right. Here come folks. Hey everyone, welcome.
Leanne sends her regards. She's getting ready for a presentation in like 30 minutes.
Cool. It's great to see you too.
Yeah, good. Always good seeing y'all.
Welcome everyone. We're letting some folks in, so we'll kick off in a few minutes. How's everyone doing today?
excited to see lots of new faces, lots of familiar faces.
Malika is joining. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, doing great. We're waiting for just a few people to join in before we kick off. Cool, folks. I think it's died down a little bit, so we'll see if anyone else needs to join in. We can kick off. So welcome. Really excited to see all of you. Thanks so much for joining in and for expressing interest. We're very, very excited to host this session. And we're excited to kick off with this, that our social media and marketing expert, Andriana Oliva, will be leading. She's the founder of the theAOinsight group and honestly our favorite storyteller out there. She's really great at transforming marketing strategies to be able to creatively tell the story of the organization and to get your audience super engaged. My internet cut out a little bit there, so just checking to see if everyone is there. I can't say enough great things about Andriana and everything that she's done for us at RP and a ton of other organizations in town. So
You're good.
Oh, great. I will pass the mic on over to her so that she can get us started.
Yay, thank you so much, Dre. I am really, really excited to be able to impart some of my insight with you guys and share that today. Some of you that are familiar faces, every once in a while I'll ping you and say, hey, do this, do that. So I'm really happy to be able to share that with you all. I work with a lot of nonprofits and cultural art organizations in Miami-Dade, and I feel very passionate about making sure that these organizations and organizations such as yours are able to cut through the noise of digital media. And there is a whole lot of it more happening now than there was ever before. So I'm really, really happy to be able to put this on today for you guys. It'll be very informal but formal. So there is a presentation and we'll go through some PowerPoint slides, but I also want it to be very inviting and very conversational. So if you want to say, you know, raise your hand or drop a question in the comment box or just, you know, chime in some capacity and have a question, please do. Don't hesitate to let me know and we'll get that question answered. So one of the things that, Dre, do I have access to share the screen? Cool. So one of the things that's really important in social media is, give me one question, 1 second, sorry. All right, is building community. Can you all see my screen okay? Yeah, awesome. So I want us to take 5 minutes to just go on whatever platform your organization is on or you're on and take those 5 minutes to follow each other. We're gonna start by building that community, building our network, and so that also we can keep tabs on each other after this workshop is done. Ready? Go. if you're not on this list, please do drop your information in the chat so that we can all see it. Oh, sorry. There we go. When you're done, actually go ahead and raise your hand or the thumbs up, just so we can get a sense of if we need some more time. All right, we've got one done. How's everyone looking? A minute or two more? Okay. Thanks, Sadia. All right, we can give it one more minute, and then I think Dre can send out the list and you guys can follow up and finish up after the session if that's okay with everyone. Cool. All right. So what I want to do now is do a really quick round of introductions and why we're all in this space. So very All right, so I'm Andriana. I am with the theAOinsight, and I hope to impart my knowledge on you all today. I'm going to kick it over to Trevor.
I am Trevor. I'm from Achieve Miami, as you can see. And what was the third portion?
What do you want to get out of it? Really
I
quick.
would like to learn innovative and effective methods of reaching people.
Okay.
And I'm going to kick it over to Dwight.
Thanks, Trevor. My name is Dwight Spencer. I'm here on behalf of Venture Cafe. And one of the reasons I am here is because I want to learn how to keep individuals engaged. And I'll kick it over to Sandra.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I'm calling from the I'm from the Little Haiti Cultural Complex, and we just want to kind of increase our traffic awareness to the center in our programming. And I'm trying to see, who do I kick it over to? Because I really can't see the list. Let me see. Francesca?
Hi, my name is Francesca. I actually am the copywriter for theAOinsight, so I work directly with Andriana, and I'm just really excited to see how we can improve what we do and tell all of your stories. I'm going to kick it off to Aaliyah.
Hi, I'm Alia. I'm with Radical Partners. So happy to see some familiar faces and some new faces. Thank you for joining. I am excited to learn today about how to really increase meaningful engagement. So beyond followers, like how do you get people to talk to you through social media? That's what I'm excited about today. And I will kick it over to Christina.
Hi, everybody. My name is Christina. I am with the Office of New Americans. And I think overall, like brand awareness. So it's like a part of it is followers, but just even getting people to know that we have social media is kind of where we're at.
Who do you kick it over to?
I'll kick it over to Wendy.
Hi everyone, it's Core, and I would like to engage with social media in an effort to support what we're trying to do, which is to recruit and train non-lawyers to become advocates for children in immigration detention. I unmuted myself too quickly, I'm sorry. And I would like to kick it off to Holly. If you're there, Holly, I see a picture of you. No, Holly?
No, Holly's here. Holly's here. Hi, everyone. I just didn't know which unmute to hit. Thanks for having me on the call. I'm part of the Radical Partners coaching team, so it's good to hear some familiar voices from those of you who've been in some of those leadership coaching programs. And I am here to learn, of course, from the wonderful theAOinsight, but also fundraising is my background, so I'm here to also see how I can parlay it into anything helpful around fundraising. Okay, bye. Oh, I'm going to kick it to Malika.
I'm here. Hi, everyone. This is Mileka Burgos with the Alapara Collaborative. I want to engage in social media because I want everyone to know about Alapara, about the struggles of small businesses in our communities of color, and also for people to just to collaborate with other organizations that are in the struggle for equity here in Miami.
Very good. Will you kick it off to someone?
I will kick it off to, let me see, Andriana? Is that safe?
Sure, yes, I'm here. Hi. Andriana here. I also go by Dre. I work with Radical Partners, and I'm interested in thinking about creative content, things that we can post. Maybe we can, just because we don't have a lot of things that we can be posting about in terms of like photos and there's not much variety, like how can we rethink that and post fun things on social media. Let's see, Sandra, did you go? Yes, you did. Eileen?
Yeah. Sure. Hi, I'm Eileen. I'm also with Venture Cafe Miami. I am here, well, I'm here because our ED couldn't be here and she put this on my schedule this morning. But really, in terms of social media engagement, I think we have a lot of content that we're putting out. So what's the most effective way of doing that in order to actually like meaningfully engage our followers as well as new ones? And I will tag Elizabeth. Have you gone?
Hi, thank you. I love your background there. It's gorgeous. I'm Elizabeth with ICU Baby, and I'm here also to figure out how to create more of a conversation on our social media. We have some good content, but we want to engage our followers so that we can get some of their feedback and make sure they feel like our social media is a family. And honestly, I can't see everyone. So is there someone that hasn't? Kat. I'd like to call on Kat.
Oh, hey, I can. This is Kathy with Impact Fund, and I would definitely like to see how to like have a better system to automate our communications because of capacity reasons, and also like just how to communicate more effectively with our folks without like overwhelming them.
Awesome.
And I'm not really sure who else is left.
I think some Ashley.
Oh, Ashley, can we send?
Yep, it's me. I'm Ashley with Transsocial. Sorry, I can't share my video, but my power's been out since this morning, so hoping they'll turn that back on soon. But we're looking to make content that's a little more fun to share, a little more interactive. The stuff we post tends to be a little dry and informative, and we're looking for ways to make it more fun, more creative.
Cool, awesome. So I think with Ashley, that's the last one. And that was actually really informative because now I have faces to names and organizations. And I need to figure out how to click on here. Okay, you guys can see my screen completely for PowerPoint. It's not hiding with my like gallery of you all, right? Okay, perfect. So basically, we're going to go through a couple of topics. I noticed that there was a theme amongst all of you for the most part, which was centered around engagement. Engagement is huge, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I want to go through a couple of things to get you all to start thinking a little bit about who and why and where your audience is and why you're doing it. So who is your audience? Is it donors, volunteers, students, parents, participants? Is it the community at large? Is it business owners? Someone said that they were working on recruiting, I believe it was lawyers. So is it lawyers? Is it retired medical people? What are their ages? What languages do they speak? These are all things that you should be taking into account as you put out your content. Why? So I have noticed that though there's an older community that lives on Facebook. So if you're trying to get to grandparents, for example, because they have access to younger children, to the parents of those children, if they can help make a decision, they might be someone that you want to speak out to. If you're looking on providing more informational resources, then you might want to look at using a platform like Twitter or Facebook, for example. So knowing who you're talking to and for what purpose is absolutely important. And then knowing where they live physically and digitally. So like I said, there's a great older population that lives on Facebook. I went touring with a judge last summer for his campaign, and we went into all the senior centers, and I was so surprised to see so many seniors on Facebook. And that's where they live. They're looking at their grandchildren, you know, their kids, sharing all sorts of stuff, but they're really on there mostly to see pictures and to catch up with family members. The age range too. If you're trying to market to the younger kids, you know, or do you need to venture off into TikTok now in your life and incorporate that? Do you want to spend a lot of your time on Instagram? You know, where do your donors live? Some donors are of an older age group, so they might live on Facebook, but certainly if you're looking at targeting some of the younger donors that have possibly tech companies or, you know, thriving small businesses, they might be on Instagram. So knowing what audience you want to reach and knowing that information is going to determine what your content should be centered around. The other thing is to be mindful. So what do they need? What does your audience need from you? Malika, you mentioned that you wanted to share information on the struggles of the small businesses, the colored people. So what does your audience need? Does your audience need information, resources? Are you trying to reach out to other people to let them know how they can help combat issues in your neighborhood? When do they need it? Is it something timely? Is it something that is long-term, short-term? How often do you feel like they need the information? So right now, a lot of people, a lot of organizations are putting out information about food drives, right? Or food distribution points. That's very much needed right now. We work with Catalyst Miami, and their audience is an audience that benefits from us providing these type of resources. So they need it often, they need it in various languages. And so we're very mindful of that, of those situations. So it's really important to know those aspects. Any questions so far on audience? Make sense? Okay, cool. So the next one is your tone. Someone mentioned that they wanted to, use more fun language, which is totally okay. There was a Forbes article that came out that said if you wanted to market to millennials and you wanted to communicate with millennials and the generation after them, to use emojis and GIFs. This was in Forbes. And it's very true. I just did a workshop with Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and they said to go crazy with emojis on Twitter too, that people love it. It becomes part of an eye-catching post. But in terms of tone, are you being formal? Are you being informal? I think that there is an opportunity to have a balance. I think that we, especially right now, we need to be very sensitive. So if we're sharing pictures that were from a few months ago where people were still together in the same space, we're very cautious to say, 3 months ago, or, give it some sort of date to it so that it's sensitive to the times too, right? So, if you're putting out information that's serious, obviously you should have a more formal tone. It's not something that has to carry out every day. You don't have to sound stuffy every day. You can balance it. But I say ultimately it comes down to what messaging you want to put out there, as well as, how you want to be perceived and how you want people to engage with you. I've noticed that a lot of people will put questions. I don't necessarily know that questions is the best way to engage with people, but we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. Short versus long. Now, this is very interesting. A lot of organizations and a lot of people will put out an entire book on Instagram, basically under their posts. And, some people read it, which is great, but the reality of the matter is that there's not a lot of reading happening necessarily on social media, maybe amongst the circle of people that are right here, just because we're vested in the community and we're vested in each other and our peers. But the average social media user is using it very numbly. For the most part, it's almost muscle memory at this point. How often are you not in conversation with someone and they just pick up their phone and they start scrolling through their Instagram feed? It's just the 10-second society that we live in. So one of the things that's really trending right now is using short messaging versus long messaging. So directing people to somewhere else, maybe on your website, on a blog post, maybe it's a longer Facebook post, for example, but you want something short and informal on Twitter or Instagram, that's totally okay. And so if you are of the user of putting a lot of content into your post, I suggest cutting it down and testing it out. And that's the thing with social media too. It's all about testing. There is no right or wrong formula necessarily. There is data behind, your insights and your metrics that do tell you when are the best dates and times to post. And you should definitely keep an eye on that and see if it correlates with how well your performance, the performance of a post is doing. But it also, there's a lot of factors that go into how well the performance of a post does, which we'll talk about that as well. Any questions on tone so far? No? Okay, it makes sense. Okay, so the tone's really gonna be up to you all, it's gonna be centered around how people are engaging with it. Someone might tell you, hey, I think that was a little bit too X, or hey, I really enjoyed this, I'd like to see more of that. And I would encourage you all to reach out to your peers, your staff members, your board members, and ask them for their opinions too. And that'll help you give a balance. Yes, Ali, a question.
Hey, sorry, I have a quick question. You talked about different audiences. So to what extent do we have liberty of just kind of switching audiences when we want? Because I might have a post that is more directed at potentially participants or beneficiaries, and then I might also want to sometimes communicate with funders. Like, is it okay to shift between formal, informal, to speaking to youth sometimes, I think that's my struggle, is like, I want to communicate to multiple audiences, and I also don't want to be confusing in terms of my brand. I want to have like a certain consistency while also being able to speak to more than one audience.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what should remain consistent is how you speak. We all have a definitive way of how we speak, even in our own personal lives, and that shouldn't change, right? So if, if you like using emojis and everything, go ahead and use it in everything. That's fine. But if you want to thank a donor, you can definitely thank a donor with an emoji. You can definitely highlight a participant who, received an award or something. I think it's totally okay. And I think that what that allows you to do is that it allows you to play to all your audiences and all your communities. And it also allows for a variety of content. And there could be someone who maybe they are a volunteer just because they really love the organization, but they could also be a potential donor. And so that's when marrying content like that works really well too. And I'll give you an example, and I definitely want Holly to chime in towards the end when we start talking about return on investment and sponsorships, but I put out a tweet for Guitars Over Guns a few years ago about a showcase, and it was the right time at the right place, and it turned into a $5,000 sponsorship for the organization. So that's why it's also important to leverage the people around you, and we'll work on that. We'll get to that too. So we're good on tone? Any other questions? Okay, awesome. Let me just make sure on the other screen because we have two screens. Okay, perfect. All right, next up, frequency and consistency. So this is huge too. Some of you wanted to learn about how to get that content in place, how to have more content. There's certainly a lot of things that can be done in advance. I'm a huge fan of canned content. Canned content is anything like Amazon Smiles. I bet a bunch of you are on Amazon Smiles, correct? So we have a practice where we share Amazon Smiles for Mother's Day, Father's Day, Easter, the holidays, Valentine's, and that's something that we actually set up early on in the year. We do all our graphics, all our content for all our clients. We schedule it and it's done, and we don't have to worry about it for the whole year. And so that's something that if you schedule it, your time, you can sit down for 2 hours, get it all knocked out for potentially the entire year, and you don't have to worry about it again, basically. And you can also schedule your content, which is a whole nother session. I'm happy to chat with you all about that offline. So canned content, writing in advance. What are other things that you can write in advance? You have an event coming up. Sit down, take a couple of hours, write all the posts that you need. We're going live in 20 minutes. We're going live in 24 hours. Don't miss your chance to sign up, so that you're not thinking about it day of reactively. Like, this gives you a really great opportunity to plan ahead, to get it done. It's not being rushed, it's being done properly. You have enough time to tag all your partners, to make sure you have all the right hashtags, that you get all the amount of posts that you want out there. And then again, you schedule it, out of sight, out of mind. You don't have to worry about it. The only thing you have to worry about is that once those posts start coming out and your audiences start engaging with you, is that you engage with them. Other writing in advance opportunities. Board members, highlighting board members is an excellent content opportunity. You have 10 to 15 board members. Sit down, if you have a graphic designer or Canva or Photoshop, however your organization makes graphics, knock them all out in one shot, meet the team Mondays. You now have content potentially for every Monday for the next 3 or 4 months. So in terms of thinking strategically about frequency and consistency, what are the opportunities? What are the low-hanging fruits that will allow you to create that frequency and consistency so that you're not overwhelmed by the fact that you have to put out a social media post? Does that make sense? Any questions so far?
Yes, I have a question. In regards to like scheduling posts, what would you recommend? Well, I won't say recommend. What would you say is like the best optimal times for a post to actually be scheduled out? Because I get a lot of different, suggestions. Some people say first thing in the morning. Some people say right before, you go to bed. Some people say lunchtime. So I guess what would you kind of say is like the best kind of time frames to really schedule posts?
Yeah, I think that's what why it's so important to know where your audience lives digitally and who your audience is. So I'll give you an example. I used to work with the American Institute of Architects. Architects were a lot more receptive at 7:30 in the morning than they were at 2:30 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m., for example, or even 11 a.m. They're, excuse me, they're very early morning people. They are creative, but they're a different kind of creative. So knowing that they live there, we would push all our events and news at those times. Arts organizations tend to perform better in the evenings. I'll tell you, Guitars Over Guns, we put posts out at midnight, 2 in the morning, and they do substantially well. But it also depends on, are you trying to reach like a nationwide audience, or are you trying to reach a hyper-local audience? For example, if you're trying to reach the entire nation, you know, from East Coast to West Coast, if you do something around like 9 o'clock at night, excuse me, you're getting 9 p.m. here in Miami, 8 o'clock, which is still a decent time, and then like 7 or 6, right? So you're still looking at like that rush hour after dinner timing, and it'll allow you to grab a whole span. That's a whole other strategy. Insights on both Facebook, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram will give you more or less an idea. But again, it all depends, because if it tells you that Mondays at 10 are your time to definitely post, that's where all your audience lives, you can put a picture of someone in your organization winning an award versus a picture of a call to action to raise money for something. Same time, same day, different topics. The CTA, the call to action, will automatically not perform as well as the picture of the person with the award. So it really is subjective to what the content is. Can I answer your question, Dwight?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Cool. So frequency and consistency. Consistency could be doing one post a week on one outlet just to get you going. If that's what you need to get you going as your consistent point, then that's where you start. But I would say, you know, your consistency should be 2 to 3 times a week, because it actually does a disservice to you to post less. So if you can be consistent about posting 2 or 3 times a week, then you're going to be in great shape. And then once you start doing that, your frequency starts to come in because you'll be posting more often. A platform like Twitter, you can go to town posting every 2 hours if you really wanted to, because that's what the platform allows for. If you're just starting to get your feet wet, I would tell you to post every day. We post every single day just about for all our clients, or at least we try to. But if not, at least 3 times a week, especially on Instagram and Facebook. It is algorithm based. Some people, you know, I think on average, some people will log into Facebook every 2 days, every 3 days. You know, it's kind of like the consensus I'm getting from friends nowadays. And so you want your post to be able to do well, so that person that only logs in every 2 or 3 days will still be able to see your post, because algorithmically it performed well, right? And then you also have space in between, so you're not diluting your own content as a way to get started. That makes sense? Okay. Any questions thus far? All right, next. All right, delivering content. So I definitely want to open this up. I would love to hear from you all once we go through this. Some content pieces that maybe have done exceptionally well for you all that you would like to share with the group. They say that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. And I will say that Achieve Miami recently did this really cute reading success video with like a template, something over it. And we are imitating that for something else. So thank you, Trevor. But I definitely would like this to be a collaborative space so that we can definitely share some ideas with each other. But delivering content, there's a bunch of ways to deliver content. How do you tell your story? What story do you want to tell? I can't, when we go through the housekeeping portion, there's an organization, I think Sugarcane, are you on the call? Sugarcane on the call? Sugarcane Magazine? No? Okay. Well, I was going through Sugarcane Magazine and I think it was them. I couldn't really tell what their organization was about. Maybe it wasn't them. But I couldn't really tell what the organization was about because they were pushing other things. So to this point, I don't know what organization that was. And so that's very important, because as you become new to people and other organizations and they scroll through their feeds, they should be able to see that narrative about what the organization does. ICU Baby, you do a pretty good job at it. I see that you provide support, you provide food, like dinners. You're showing the results of your babies. That's, today and yesterday and today type deal. And that's really great because it helps paint that picture. Are you doing videos? Videos are, they tend to perform better, but that's also subjective to the date, the time, the messaging, etc., the performance of the video. But are you doing videos? Are you sharing statistics? Are you grabbing testimonials? Are you sharing other endorsements from other people for your organization? Are you doing mostly text graphics versus more photographics, more aesthetically pleasing? Are you writing content for your partners? Are you leveraging them? So if you have an event coming up, do you have an opportunity to, and I keep talking events because I know a lot of us are still thinking about fall and spring fundraisers, and it's a whole new landscape for a lot of us, and I'm sure Holly will be able to chime in on some of that as well. But are you writing content for them? Do you have an initiative that's coming up? Giving Tuesday Now is a great example. We wrote some third-party content for some of our clients' boards so that they could share it out. And it's just an opportunity to get more content out there that's not just coming from your organization. Are you delivering informational content? Is it educational? Is there a call to action? So there's a lot of different ways. Are you sharing the same thing across all your platforms at the same time? We're fans of staggering that. So whatever you see on Facebook, you're not going to see on Instagram or Twitter on the same day. If you think about it like a commercial, right? You might hear the commercial on Power 96, but then you might see the commercial on Channel 10, and then you heard the commercial on WDNA, and so you're going to go buy the car. And so that's how we like to think about social media, also in that advertising aspect. All right, any questions on delivering content? And or does anybody want to share something fabulous or an epic failure that we can all learn from?
I have a question. That's okay. When you said videos, so we do a lot of videos in stories, but we don't do videos in our actual feed. Do you have any opinion on whether it's better to put them in the feed or stories? And how long is the ideal video?
So on an Instagram feed, you can go up to 59 seconds. Anything longer will live on IGTV. I actually think that's something great. So if your video is over a minute, it can go straight to your feed and live on IGTV. And so it just becomes an additional viewable source as people either, numbnessly go through stories or the algorithm picks up similar stories. So it's definitely good for bandwidth. In terms of sharing it to your story, what you could do is you could definitely share it in its raw format, just like the video, or you can share the post to your story. If that video lives somewhere like on YouTube as well, you can always do a link in your bio and link it back there. So any and every opportunity that you can to share it in a different capacity is definitely good bandwidth. And it's all interconnected too.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Adriana, what is the ideal time, as she asked, for the video? Is it 2 minutes, 1 minute?
I wouldn't go past 2.5, 3 minutes, to be honest. What's very interesting is that when you look at Facebook stats, for example, like we've been doing a lot of live streams, and it counts the viewer watch at 3 seconds. So anyone that chimes out after 4 seconds, they may have not really watched a lot of your video, but it still gets counted as a view. So it's a little bit deceptive. But I would recommend no more than 3 minutes and 2.5. But it also depends on how fast is your video moving? Is it drabby? Is it, how is the imagery? Does it flow? Is it, do you have closed captioning? Which is something really important to think about as well. There's all sorts of measures and opportunities in place to be able to be ADA compliant. I know that ADA is starting to crack down on websites that aren't ADA compliant. So, looking at putting closed captioning in your videos is something that I would encourage too. YouTube has a built-in function that allows you to do that. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. And I wanted to tell you that I have been using the same content in all my media, so I will not do that anymore. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cool. So then, what are your low-hanging fruits? Can you share board stories? Are you being creative? Are you just kind of flying by and posting stuff reactively? Do you need to sit down and block out some time to create your content? And test things out, like I mentioned before. There is no right or wrong in social media, so definitely testing and trying different things is absolutely key. Everyone good on delivering content? Did anyone want to share a good campaign that they did or a bad one? No? Okay, we'll go to the next one. All right, leverage your organization's network. This is so key. This is so important. One, it makes you credible and cool because someone else is talking about you. Two, they're talking about you to their networks that are not connected to you necessarily. And three, it's just about increasing that bandwidth. So that comes in all sorts of aspects, not just providing third-party content for them to share, but getting them to engage with you, right? So if there are 7 people that work on your team, all 7 people should be liking your Facebook post or your Instagram post, given that they are on those platforms, of course, right? But what that does is that 1, it gives you likes, 2, it exposes your post to their audience, potentially, like on Twitter and Facebook, not so much Instagram. But 3, it also allows your post to live longer, so that 2 to 3 day Facebook user and Instagram user will still have the opportunity to see your post. So, and I know it's hard. I know I have these conversations with my clients. I know I've had these conversations with you, with some of you all, and you're bored, and how do you get them to engage? And you just keep feeding them the information, but you have to keep trying. You have to show them the value behind it. And I think, Holly, are you still with us? Is Holly still on the call? Yeah. Getting your numbers to go up. Holly, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Awesome. So Holly, so I'd love your perspective and to chime in on the importance of, getting your board and your ambassadors to engage from a donor perspective and providing visibility to the organization.
Sure. Getting folks to engage, keep in mind that, right, from a fundraising strategy perspective, social media is one channel within your larger strategy, right? And so it's important when what you're doing on social media integrates with the campaign that you're running holistically and that your board understands their role in that, right? So just as you would utilize your board for a larger fundraising strategy for major gifts or for event ticket sales, utilize your board around social media. And it's a low lift way for them to be a part of your organization and be helpful and keep their commitment to be an advocate and a steward to your organization. And as you were saying earlier, right, like can the info for them, right? Like give them the templates and give them the context and give them the timing and make it super easy for them to engage out to their network. It's no different than if you were doing a 5K and you were asking them to email everybody to sponsor their 5K run or to purchase a ticket. It's the same network. They just might, based on age and use of the technology, might be intimidated by the process. So make it as turnkey as possible and keep in mind that it's part of the larger strategy.
Thanks, Holly. So and even your friends and your peers, if you have a campaign that you're pushing out, bother your friends. They're our support circle. They're here to support us. Ask them to share something, ask them to like something. Don't be overbearing about it. Don't tag 99 friends on a post that is unsolicited. But you can definitely, if you're in a WhatsApp group, let them know, hey, we've got this event coming up. We just shared it. Will you go over and like it? And the problem, there's a little bit of a psychological factor. There's actually a lot of a psychological factor to social media, but specifically around call to actions, right? So Giving Now Tuesday, I'm sure you all noticed Give Miami Day, all of these, giving opportunities, they're call to actions, buy a ticket for this event, the engagement goes down. The problem is that people are scared. They think that if they like it or they take an action or they engage on it, that they're going to expect you to buy a ticket, to make a donation, to take action on it, right? So people shy away from that because like, oh no, I don't want to see that I don't want them to see that they saw me type deal, So getting that also through to people and having them understand that it's okay, that you're doing a lot for me just by liking the post is super important. So having those conversations when you have your board meetings, your ambassador meetings, your volunteer meetings, you know, just letting them know, hey, do you all follow us? Hey, are you all engaging with us? You know, don't worry, you don't need to take an action, but we do need you to like it so that the post can live longer. You know, starting to explain that to people and having those conversations, I think, helps immensely because it helps people understand the value behind it.
Yeah,
Cool.
hey, Molly, can I jump in? Can I
Yeah,
jump in on one more thing, build on what you said? Yeah, you make a really great point about the ease and the intimidation around it, right? And so you utilize your board meeting just like we did at the very beginning of this workshop, right? Took 5 minutes and she said, let's do this thing together, right? So whatever your reporting opportunity looks like at your board meetings, whether you're reporting as executive director or the development person or the marketing director, whatever you have the opportunity, you know, use that time to get what you need from your board. And if reporting the same thing every single month is not getting what you need from your board, so use a little bit of that spotlight, just like the board's going to spotlight the mission, spotlight how they can be helpful on social media and give them time in that moment, right? Especially from a donor perspective. We've done it before at organizations where I'm at, where we take a minute. I used to be a Chapman partnership when it was Mrs. Chapman's 92nd birthday, and we all stopped in that moment at the board meeting and sent her a happy birthday message, right? So there could be opportunities like that to celebrate your organization and utilize the time you have face time with your board to remove some of that intimidation.
Adriana, you're muted.
I'm so muted, sorry. Thank you. She's so right. We did that with an organization. They had 60 of their staff members in a room, and we created a Instagram graphic for all of them and asked them to please share it so that they can encourage their followers to go and like the page. And we ended up with about 100 new followers on Instagram in about an hour the first time we did it. And when we actually did it on Facebook, I think it was about 500 new followers in the span of like 4 or 5 hours, which was really amazing. So there's definitely power behind doing that. Return on investment. I mentioned the tweet that got the $5,000. There's definitely a return on investment from social media. And social media, in theory, is free. You don't have to pay for Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, but the time behind it is obviously not. Whether you have someone on your team that does it full-time or part-time, or whether it's your own time investment, there is some of that human labor and cost behind it, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing it right, that you're doing it thoughtfully, that you really are thinking about what your objectives are around what campaigns you're doing. You know, if you know that you're going to put out a call to action, you know, you might expect that the engagement is going to fall a little bit. So maybe plan around doing something that you know will boost engagement just before or after it in terms of content, just so that your organization is lingering in the algorithmic world some. And again, we can do a whole nother session on metrics and analytics, but you know, taking a quick snapshot, look at what your insights look like on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and, you know, whatever platforms you use. LinkedIn as well. I know we didn't really talk about LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is a great platform. We're definitely taking advantage of it for our clients now as well. And we're showing that there's a whole nother side of engagement there, and people are actually engaging with content, which is really nice. So, you know, taking a look at what posts are doing well, more or less what days, what's really capturing your audience is super important so that you can determine what the best content is. Now, in terms of engagement, since most of you did talk about engagement, there is no other way around getting, there's no other way to get around engagement other than engaging yourself, right? You have to give a little bit to give a little, you have to give a little bit to get a little bit. So there's a couple of things that we do. There's something that I call the Tinder method, which is a swiping and tapping method. And it works well for Instagram and Twitter. And basically what that means is you find a hashtag of maybe where your audience lives, right? So if you're looking at targeting lawyers, if you're looking at targeting Miami moms, you would use those hashtags and you would simply start swiping through and liking posts. And that one gives you an opportunity to see what other people in that space are sharing. which could give you ideas of other things that maybe you can incorporate. It gives you an opportunity to see other people in your space too for potential collaborations as well. But it gives you an opportunity to be seen within that realm, right? So for example, if you're an event photographer, I know this is out of our wheelhouse, but if you're an event photographer and you're looking to connect with Miami event planners, you would go and you would stroll through that hashtag. If you work in immigrant law, you might hashtag immigrant law Miami and see what pops up and engage in that fashion. So there's that avenue. It's almost like forcing people to see you, right? And so that's a way to increase your following, believe it or not. But it takes time. Pardon the informalness, but I tell people the best time to do it is probably while you're on the toilet. Because chances are that you probably are on social media anyways while you're on the toilet. So just spending like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes swiping through on a regular basis, maybe twice a day, it's totally 100% helpful. You can definitely ask people for their feedback, encourage your friends to comment on things, your peers, your staff members, your network. But it's really a give to get situation when it comes to engagement. You have to be seen for people to see you, right? Okay, any questions on return on investment or the swipe and tap method? Okay, cool. And so last but not least, actually not last, because we do have a couple more things to go through, but your goals. Set some goals for yourself, right? So whether your goal is to increase your followers by X amount by the end of the year, or whether it's just to create that consistency of 1 post a week or 2 posts a week on an outlet, or to go from 2 likes on a post to 5 likes, whatever those goals are that you want, write them out, and then let's look at ways that you can work towards those goals, right? So if you now know that the swiping and tapping method is a great way to increase your Instagram followers, make that part of your action item to reach your goal, right? If your goal is to have 2 posts a week or 3 posts a week, schedule some time, block it off, write your 3 posts for the week, be ambitious, go for 2 weeks, but set yourself up to succeed. That's something that I've been learning a lot the hard way and will continue to learn over and over. And it's just the best practice and advice that I can give anyone. Schedule the time to do it. And then, maybe get to the point where you're planning for 3 months out in advance. You've got your canned content. If you wanted to do a reading recommendation every Friday, find 10 books. If you come across articles that are not necessarily super timely, but can be shared as resources for your industry, set up a couple of tweets, 5 tweets with 5 different articles in advance. But whatever your goals are, identify 2 or 3, and then identify the action steps you need to get there. Any questions on goals? Maybe your goal is to engage more. And so, you block off 5 minutes at a time. I sometimes will look at the clock and notice that there's 5 minutes left to the next hour. So like 3:55. And then I'll say like, okay, I'm just going to stop for 5 minutes and I'm going to swipe and tap for 5 minutes. And I just knock it out. And that works really well too. Cool. So housekeeping review. I went through a lot of your social media pages and I found and pulled opportunities for improvement. So I thought this could be a good exercise for us all to go through because there are some commonalities and I think that we can all learn from each other. I'm going to whiz by these a little bit because I know we're running short on time and I can talk about social media forever. So here we go. All right, so just some basic things. Christina, I think you need to take down your Twitter page. So it's it's super important. No? Is it the wrong one?
Yes, it's the wrong one. It's Miami-Dade.
Okay, so this is super even more important in terms of housekeeping. Your website directed me to this Twitter page. So when you're talking about housekeeping, that's one of the things that I'd like for you all to consider. For the most part, many of you had your social handles on your home pages. There were a couple of you that I had to go hunting for. And there was 1 or 2 of you that like the Twitter was linked to your Instagram. So making sure that your outlets are properly connected and linked is super important. Christina, let's look at how to take this page down then. at some point. Okay.
I don't, the whole thing is I don't own that. So I DM that person to see if I could get it, and they never responded.
Okay, so then we just need to switch it on your site. But either way, and this is something that I realize that we haven't done with a lot of our clients too, is making sure your cover image is updated, that your profile picture is updated, that your about is updated. If you have a link that is mission driven or campaign driven or initiative driven, that link is there. And just making sure that everything is tidy, because people do check your profile pages. Pinned comments and pinned posts. So you have an opportunity on Facebook and Twitter to pin a post to the top of your page, which is the first thing that anyone going to your profile will see. And so while this is still timely for Venture Cafe, I believe, it's from June 2019. So the opportunity here would be for them to pin a new tweet with their whole new completely virtual opportunities, but more importantly, keeping that pinned tweet or comment closer to time, because it looks like that's your first tweet in a long time, basically, and that can, or first comment, and that can deter people from scrolling through your page because they think you're not relevant anymore. Okay, I see you, baby, and mindful kids. I see you, baby. So this was a great post. You, like I mentioned earlier, you do a really good job. I think an opportunity for improvement here is a photo behind the text. So less text, more imagery. Think about it this way. Social media is a very vain world, right? We like puppies, sandy beaches, food, you know, think about what you're engaging with, like the type of things that you like to see. And the reality is that people go onto social media for the most part to numb out, like I said earlier. So the last thing they want to see is something like super mission driven or a call to action. So keeping it picturesque, if you will, would be really great. Okay. Mindful Kids Miami. So
Andriana, I'm sorry, really quickly, just because I know that we're running almost to 4, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So I'm happy to continue. But I just want to remind anyone who needs to get off that Andriana can be found on our website, on our Alumni Resources website. And if you want to continue working with her, you can sign up with her to get an hour of coaching for your tailored coaching for your social media and marketing needs. So Andriana, I'll pass the mic over to you. If anyone needs to jump off, feel free. And if you have any questions, feel free to stay on. We'll be here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'm sorry to go over. Like I said, we can talk about this for hours because there's just so much to it. I probably need about another 5 or 7 minutes to go through the housekeeping if you all want to see it. And then, yep, perfect. And then I'm happy to stay on for a few more minutes if anybody wants to chat. And then like Dre said, I'm definitely available to chat with you all one-on-one. Cool. So really quick, Elizabeth, how successful is fundraising on social media with Facebook fundraisers and IG stickers? Again, if you have the bandwidth to do it, do it. It's just one more opportunity. It's a free opportunity. Some birthday fundraisers on Facebook are really successful, but it all comes down to, is it an easy push and ask? Do you have the time? Do you have the resources to invest in it and do it right? And how successful you think you can be from it, knowing all the work that has to go into it. So if it's just someone wants to do a $500 Facebook fundraiser, birthday fundraiser, you know, go for it. But if you're looking at raising $50,000 and it's something more produced, then you really have to analyze it. Sorry, Holly?
Can I just give a 30-second there? Yeah. So, you know, keep in mind that social media fundraising is a great avenue, and like she was talking about, kind of the skin of your page. Make sure it's reflective. If you are going to drive them to your website to make donations, then make sure your website feels like what you're doing on social media. You're not sending them from one place that feels super hip and cool to a place that feels old and stuffy, right? So integrate. And then the other thing around fundraising on Facebook, I don't want to deter you from doing a social media campaign, a Facebook campaign, but if you drive your donations through Facebook, like you see lots of folks do the birthday fundraisers for their favorite charity, this is me wearing my development director hat. I have no idea who those donors are. I just get a random check or a random deposit from Facebook's fundraising program down the road. I have no idea how many people donated and who donated. So as a development professional, I don't want to do it on Facebook because I want to know to keep them, engage them, thank them, include them, communicate with them, because I don't know who they are. So although those birthday fundraisers and that sort of thing feel great, on the charity side, which is where you all are, you don't get to retain any of that information about who the new donor is. So just keep that in mind as you're making the decision to fundraise through the channels that Facebook allows you to fundraise. If it's about a long-term donor strategy of acquiring and cultivating new donors, then social media is not your best avenue. If it's about capturing lightning in a bottle and taking advantage of a moment and a media storm and an attention opportunity for you, then leverage the moment. So just recognize what you're getting into and what you're losing when you do that. Thank you.
100%. Thanks, Holly. Cool. Does that answer your question, Elizabeth? You're good? Awesome. Okay, so Mindful Kids Miami, and this is just with a lot of you too, I noticed. There's a site called Bitly, if you're not familiar with it, bitly.com, and that's where you go to create the short links that you see. You can brand them too, so it could be bit.ly/Mindful Kids Miami virtual sessions if you want it, but it gives you an opportunity to clean up your post so that it's not so lengthy with a huge web address. But also for something like this, I don't think it's necessary to put I would just put it one time. You don't have to repeat the link multiple times. So just cleaning up the way that your links and your posts work too, keeping it all visually appealing and tidy is a game changer for sure. I'm gonna have to move you guys out. All right, Impact Fund. Very basic, and this is something that can apply to a lot of you all. Hashtags. Hashtags on Instagram are super important. I believe the max is 33. We like to keep it between 20 and 25 hashtags. And what that allows is for you to be visible, just the same way that you're going to hashtag Miami Moms or hashtag retired attorneys to see them. That's an opportunity for people to see you. And then what I would say about hashtags is that a lot of people and organizations like to use them in a very broad sense. So it's okay to have one that's your like moniker, your motto. You know, for example, Guitars Over Guns, they have Choose Your Sound. And so we hashtag Choose Your Sound more than we do hashtag Guitars Over Guns. That's their staple. But we diversify our handles with music education, locations, different instrument types, etc. So instead of using, 5 or 6 that are a little bit more niched, for example, using broader ones. So if your audience is parents, parenting, Miami moms, Fort Lauderdale moms, Miami dads, doing a little bit of research, seeing where there's a lot of content, where there's most action, and starting to be part of those conversations in a more larger basis, but then also locations. So a lot of people hashtag their cities, their communities. And so if you're trying to get into those spaces, that's a great opportunity. So if you're trying to reach out to the Haitian community because it's census time, for example, using hashtags like hashtag Overtown, hashtag Little Haiti, hashtag Liberty City, hashtag Miami Gardens, knowing where they live is a great opportunity. Are you trying to reach Hialeah for the Hispanic markets? And I'm probably being very generalized, so pardon me. But these are some of the things that we look at when we look at targeting and trying to connect with the different audiences for our nonprofit clients. Kathy, did you have a question? I saw you came off mute.
Oh yeah, no, I just wanted to say thank you. It's a lot of times I have no idea like where to even start with the hashtags. So those are some good suggestions. I probably need more.
Yeah, I would recommend as part of your scheduled time to sit down and just do some research. There's a couple of apps called Smart Hash, Hash Finder. And so if you put in one keyword, it'll tell you the trending keywords of the day basically, and you can copy and paste.
Cool.
They require some cleanup. But that's definitely a shortcut. And then again, as you start engaging more on social media and you start seeing what other similar organizations are doing and your friends and your peers, some of those hashtags will start to pop out. And if you want to be part of conversations, for sure, like Giving Tuesday now is a whole conversation. Twitter for Good does a whole Twitter for Good day, so being part of that conversation where Orange is coming up. You know, there's all sorts of opportunities to be involved with those questions. I mean, with those conversations. Office of New Americans did a great job with the hashtags. You can definitely use more. But for example, all workers are essential. I'm sure that's probably one that's up and growing, but there's an opportunity to maybe you would probably be better off doing like the geo-specific hashtags, like the communities that you're trying to reach. And then, but most importantly for this is the image. So like I mentioned before, being ADA compliant is super important right now. So when I first saw this, my immediate thought was that the white was a little bit hard to read. So just thinking about that, thinking about our you know, our different communities and populations, you know, should you be adding alternate text for screen readers, making sure that things are clear and visible and easy to read are super key. Okay. Oh, and I will say Impact Fund, great job on geo-tagging your location at the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. We definitely want to encourage you to tag the locations because again, people also explore and they look for things to look at via those types of locations. So it's just an extra opportunity to be seen. Little Haiti Cultural Center. I love these colors. It's very vibrant. Again, no hashtag. You have a great opportunity to always be geotagging your location since it's usually at the cultural center. And the other note is, and this is applicable to a lot of you too, is on this post that has the press release, there is no actual message behind it. It's just an image. So you definitely want to give some context to what you're putting out there, not just an image, because sometimes the image gets cut off, or it doesn't show properly. And so you want to be able to let people know what you want them to see. I do think it's great that you're using the multiple languages, which is super key. We've noticed that people tend to engage well when you write in their native language. Awesome, trans social. Your video did really, really well. I think you also have an opportunity to use geolocations in your hashtags to be more direct. You're offering kits, so targeting the actual communities that you want to reach to is probably really great. Again, the same thing with the second one, but interestingly enough, your video, your boomerang did much better. So I would venture to say that your audience probably does much better with videos based on other things that I saw as well than just images, just little things to take into consideration. And then sugarcane. So we said that sugarcane isn't on the call, right? No, okay. So either way with them, this was an interesting comparison. So both of these Instagrams that you see here on the right side, they're both for Instagram live events, but one was just picturesque and one was more graphic flyer driven. And you can tell comparably a substantial amount of difference between the engagement. It's almost half. And this was actually, so the bottom one has 259 likes and the top one has 518. And so it's because of that call to action. You see something that's flyer driven, it's for an event, there's an immediate association with call to action. And this was one of two of the better performing ones, and some of the other ones were much lower, which leads me to believe that her audience wants more of just the imagery, right? And so being able to show an image and say on the side, this is happening on IG Live is okay, because you get more eyes, more engagement, and your post lives longer. Okay, and then Venture Cafe, you guys are still on, right? Awesome. So definitely with you all, you know, I know that there's a lot of people on your team. This tip video that came out on Twitter, I thought was fantastic. It could have definitely, there's an opportunity here for more engagement, for more of the team to like it, more of the partners to like it. But the biggest takeaway from this tweet is, if you notice there's a couple of handles that aren't tagged in blue, it's because they're incorrect. So the opportunity here is, I know we're all whizzing and we're trying to get through our content and we're all working super fast, and sometimes we're copying over from Instagram to Twitter to Facebook. But for example, Commissioner Bovel's handle on Twitter is ComBovel versus on Instagram where it's Commissioner Bovel. So just being mindful of those things across the board, it happens to us too, is super key, because one, you're tagging them and you would want someone like Commissioner Bovel to see it and retweet it and engage with you. And then two, the top image, the Instagram image, if you notice in the background, it's very event driven. I know Venture Cafe does a lot of events and that's what they promote, but your content that's centered around more pictures and video that isn't event driven does better. So looking at ways to share what happened post events, maybe some of the outcomes, Zoom pictures, someone interviewed, someone who just finished the session and wants to talk about what they learned, their experience. That would definitely be a great opportunity for you all. And I think this is the last one for sure. Urban Philanthropies, are you on the line? Are they on the line? No? Okay. Well, here's just very basic opportunities. Tagging the right partners. What WXCL could have been tagged. You definitely don't want to miss that opportunity. They're really great on engagement and sharing. So knowing too who your partners are that will take that extra step for you is super key, and making sure that you tag them accordingly is super helpful too, so that you can get that extra push. And then also on their page, they just had a lot of flyers. So finding that proper balance. You don't want to just go to social media to push your event and you haven't been on in 20 years. That's not going to be helpful to you, and it's certainly not going to be helpful in what the landscape of what your page looks like. So then the last one is Achieve Miami. I know Trevor fell off as well, but subscribing to newsletters is definitely one of those opportunities that can serve as canned content that you can plan for. Maybe it's one subscription post a month on each one of your outlets. You knock them all out for 12 months, call it a day. A video, a graphic. Again, there's a missed opportunity here for hashtags that would have helped. Even if it's one more person who sees your post or likes your post, it's worth that extra hashtag. And then also just another comparison on how a regular video versus a call to action video will outperform a call to action video. You can see it has 61 likes versus 27. And with that, we are officially done. And I will open it up for any questions. Ali, I see you have a question. Is there any risk liking posts that have your hashtag that don't reflect your aesthetic or brand?
I'll just qualify that really quickly. I don't know if that made sense, but like, for example, like my brand, one of the hashtags we've been playing with is handmade, hand woven, hand whatever. And when I look at some people that use the hashtag handmade, it's like, I don't want to like that because I don't like that brand and I don't like those colors and I don't like the way you communicate. So like, is there any like negative side to like going through and blindly liking a bunch of people that use the same hashtag that like clearly does not reflect our values or aesthetic, or does it not matter? It's just like increased action, increased visibility.
No, I think you have to be careful. So for example, yes, you don't have to like them, Alia. And if it's not in tune with you, don't do it. What you might want to do is look at who your potential customers are, right? It could be anyone. So for you, I would do something that's a safe hashtag, which is something like Miami food bloggers, Miami eats. It definitely opens up your appetite, but it's very safe because it's just food, right? And I say that because like if you go to do Miami Beach, if you're trying to branch out to the Miami Beach market, for example, it's pretty ratchet and raunchy. And so you don't want to blindly be liking and swiping and liking. So being mindful of that is absolutely important. So looking at safe hashtags is another route to go, you know? So like I said, anyone can buy your products. I see you, baby. Everyone knows a mom. Everyone knows, you know, an aunt, something, right? So knowing also who is your audience and if it can be part of that safe hashtag, if you can find them there, then go that route. And then what that does is, you know how you can see who likes a post and it shows like their little circle? It starts to give you brand opportunity there too. So maybe I start to see your face there more, your logo, and so now I'm intrigued by who you are and I will go to your page because I keep seeing your face over and over too within that realm. Yeah, awesome. Cool. I'm available for questions, comments, concerns. No, we're good.
I have a question. I've always had like trouble, I think, with like doing the work stuff on Instagram, and even more now that there's like nothing to take a picture of. And I was just wondering if you could give us some ideas on what we could do. I liked what Ona did, like the graphic with the text. But I was wondering, you know, if there was any other ideas that you had.
So tell me again what organization you're with.
So I'm with Impact Fund.
Okay. So I mean, you can definitely look at stock photography. It's not as warm as fuzzy necessarily, but if you were to do statistics in stock photography, that's an opportunity. You know, I'd really have to see what kind of content it is that you would want to put out, but you can definitely bring stuff from the archives. If you are on Twitter and Facebook and there's any industry news that you want to share, now is definitely an opportunity for that. You know, you have an opportunity to change stereotypes, to change minds, to write the narrative that you want to write and see for your organizations and the communities that you serve. Spotlighting people, spotlighting your board, your team members, past achievements, past articles, what the future landscape of your organization and industry are. Certainly home videos are very in right now. So if you wanted to do a home video of 5 tips for this, or this is what you should be looking for, or you know, things along those lines, those would all be very well received. And they don't have to be overly produced. You just have to make sure that you have good lighting, that your camera isn't blurry, and that it's, you know, neat and tidy behind you, and then you'd be good to go.
Thank you.
Awesome.
We have another question from Ashley. What is your recommendation for a basic social media scheduling platform?
Great question. So I don't use any platform other than the ones that come with the account. So we schedule everything directly via Facebook. Twitter does have a it's from Twitter. It's called TweetDeck, and I schedule all our tweets through there. And it also allows you to have different columns, so you can monitor your notifications, your feed. You can create lists and monitor the list too. It's a really great tool. And then for Instagram, so we recommend a couple things. I personally don't trust things like Hootsuite and Buffer because things do get stuck in those platforms sometimes, and I like to just make sure that it gets out. So for Instagram, we recommend 2 things. Because we manage way too many Instagram accounts on a daily basis, just kidding, I love all the ones that we manage. We have a separate email address, and that's what we call our Insta queue. So we just send an email with the text, the image link or video link, and the day and the subject and whatever in the account. And I have someone who goes through it every day and posts like that on a regular basis. So it's very in real time. The other thing that is probably more feasible for you all is to plug it into your calendars. So set it up as an appointment. And so in the body of your calendar notice, you can put your text, the link that you need for your image or video to download, and then, you know, whatever time you want to do it, and then just copy and paste and upload from there. I saw that got Christina really excited, so that made me excited.
I live on my calendar, so that is perfect.
Yeah, that really works.
Awesome, folks. Are there any other questions? Thank you all for staying on a good bit longer. Andriana, thank you so much. Like, I know I learned a ton. I know a bunch of other people learned a ton, and I hope the fact that we have so many participants still on here is a testament to how much they gained from the session. Just super quick, I'm sharing in our chat a link to a follow-up survey just so that we can get your thoughts about the session. And I also want to let you all know that we have other sessions coming up. Next week, we'll have a session on leading your team remotely. So ways to manage HR and team conversations. That'll be an alumni roundtable, and we'll have Chad Bernstein, Brett McNaught, and Pauline Green sharing about their experiences on that topic. Very excited for that. And as I said earlier, you can find Andriana and a lot of other coaches on our website so that you can book time with them. I know that a couple folks on the call already have met with some coaches, so really happy to see that happen. And that's really an opportunity to get tailored one-on-one coaching on any topic that you need support on right now. Like, they're there for you, to love on you, to support you, to guide you, whatever you need. So with that, I'll wrap us up. Andriana, Alia, if there's anything else you'd like to share, go for it. It was really great seeing you all.
Thank you. Thank you to Andriana. Thank you all for staying. It was a great session, and hope to see you all soon.
Awesome. Thank you all. It was a pleasure to see all your faces and spend the afternoon with you. I'm more than happy to talk about getting creative and all sorts of opportunities and how to schedule content needed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Good job, Adriana.
Bye, folks. Thanks for joining in. Okay, I forced everyone out.
There we go. It took a second. I was like, does she know how to hang up? I don't know if she knows how to hang up.
I don't think she did.
So it looks like we lost Holly. Do we want to just do a phone call with her?
Yeah, we can just call her.
All right, cool.
Okay, well,
Okay.
maybe I can do a three-way.
Yeah, do you want to try a three-way call? That would be great.
Yeah, okay.
Where's my phone? I'll find it.
Okay.
Talk soon. Bye.